What's up guys, welcome to your 155th Android tutorial for the new Boston, where we're going to learn a little bit more about the string builder. Actually not much more, but I'm going to actually kind of describe what it does if you guys didn't pick up on it already. And we're going to start building our XML parser class. Also go over an overview of what each class does. So it's again just kind of an informative tutorial, not much learning, but kind of reviewing what we've done. So again, we're going to parse some data from this XML file of the Google Maps or Google Weather API. And as you can see here, we have the base URL and then we have a city and a state. So what we're going to do is we're going to append something to a string builder to build on our city and our state onto this URL. But first we're going to copy this base URL, and we're just going to control copy the www.google.com/ig/API ? Weather equals. That's what we're copying. We're going to go over to our weather XML parsing class, and we're going to set up this variable. Again, it's just going to be string reference, so we're going to say string, and we're going to call this base URL. We're going to set this equal to what we just pasted within quotations, and there we go. Make sure you have the HTTP in there. Should have copied over as well, but you know, you want that. So now we have our base URL set up. Again, we can just say something like static final, because you know the base URL is not going to change, just the ending is. And again, we have our edit text for a city and our edit text for a state. We're just going to pull that data from the edit text for a city and state within our onClick method. Pretty simple. Again, nothing new. We're just going to say string C for city, and we're going to refer to our edit text, which we called city, at least I did, and we're going to say get text and then dot to string. Again, nothing new. And then we're also going to set up our state, which we're going to call S. This is going to be our edit text, which I called state, and again, just get text dot to string, and there we go. We have two new strings for whatever the person entered in the edit text for the city and whatever the person entered in the state edit text. Now what we need to do is we need to add to this string reference. You know, you guys probably already know how to do that, but some of you might be like, how can we add to a string? And what we use is something called a StringBuilder, which we have used already, but I didn't really explain it. And what a string builder is it just allows us to manipulate strings, either add to it or subtract. So if you're like climbing a mountain and you have a string or a rope and you're like, I don't have enough rope, you probably want to use a string builder to, you know, add some more string to what you got. And that's pretty much the same way it works in Java, as we use a string builder. So we're just going to say string builder, and we're going to call this URL. We're going to set this equal to a new string builder. We got to give it the initial string that we want to add to, so we're going to give it that you know, that string we just set up, which was called base URL. And there we go. We have a string builder, which is kind of a new string builder with the base URL. Now what we want to do is we want to add to that base URL the city and the state. And again, we have to put a comma in between, as you can see up here. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to work. So if we had something like that, it's going to be like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy. So we need that comma as well. So we're going to use the string builder to add the city, add a comma, and add the state. And how we do that is by the method append, which we've used as well. So we're going to refer to our string builder, which we just called URL, and we're going to say dot append. And what we're going to do is we're going to add to that string. So what we're going to append, which is basically meaning like addition. So we're going to say we want to add our city first, then we need to add a plus, and then in quotations we're going to add our comma. Pretty simple. And then we also have to add our state as well. So that's S. Again, those are our string references that we set up according to our edit text. Pretty simple, right? And then all we can do is we can set up a new string, and we're going to say full URL. We can just set this equal to our string builder, which we called URL, and then just say toString, because again it's not a string, it's a string builder, and we just converted it into a string. Now we can refer to this URL, which has our city, comma, state attached to the end of our base URL. So pretty simple. It's not too complicated of a concept, but I thought I'd just talk about it so you guys understand it a little bit more thoroughly instead of me just kind of blabbering on, because I know sometimes that gets confusing. Now let's quickly just talk about what all these classes are going to do before we actually start programming, so you guys have something to look forward to. This Weather XML parsing class, this is where we're going to set up our XML parser and kind of just set that up. And then what we're going to do is we need something to handle something that we're looking for. And what we're looking for is going to be handled within this handling the XML stuff class. We're going to be like, hey, I don't care about all the other junk. Just give me the city and give me the temperature in Fahrenheit and I'll be happy. So that's what this class is going to do. But within this class, we're going to send some data. Once we receive like the city name, we're going to be like, okay, yeah, send this data over to our XML data collected class. And that's just going to store some stuff, and we're going to create some methods within here. And it's going to store city, and it's going to store temperature. Then we're going to create a method like return data or something, collected data maybe, whatever we want to call it. Right now, who cares? But then within our weather XML parsing class, we can call to our data collected class and just be like, hey, return the data that you collected. And so that's how the framework's basically going to work for this XML parser. So hopefully you guys have kind of an understanding of those three classes, so when we set them up you aren't completely confused like you may have been previously. But again, thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Hope you have a good one.